Hi, welcome back to Shoe Mods with Steve Petrarca. Today we're going to do a 1-inch sole and heel raise on a sneaker. Um, this guy right here. So I'm going to start, soup the nuts. The first thing I'm doing, we did documentation earlier. I'm going to get the person's name. We're going to write down the prescription as to what the prescription is. In this case, 1-inch sole and heel raise. Starting measurements, finish measurements. And we also have to find out what our finished sole is because we're not using the factory sole to finish. So let me heat this up. I'll get back and we'll start working on this shoe, okay? Be right back. All right. So I had this under the heat lamp for a little while. You can see it's, I don't know if you can see it smoking a little bit, but that just makes life so much easier. Look how easy that comes off. Come on. So what I did was I took my square tip knife, cut the front of this so that when I peel this back, it saves this section in the front. In the past, I've done this toe cap and it just inevitably keeps coming off, so I just soon leave it on there. So now that we got this off, I'm going to take this over to the finisher. I'm going to level this all off before we start working on our adding materials. Okay, so we grounded the bottom of the sneaker. I tried to level it off, and now we have to measure again to figure out how much we have to build up. So we started, as you remember, 2 inches. I also picked out the finished sole, so I know that the thickness of the finished sole is exactly 3/16 of an inch. So we have to keep that in mind. So I need a finish height of 3 inches on the heel minus the 3/16. So I've got a full inch that I got to put on there. Same on the sole. I got a finish of 2 1/8, and minus the finish sole, again, full inch. I have to put a full inch on the bottom of the shoe. Sometimes you have to put a little bit more because it depends on how much you take off to level this off. So you try to take as little as possible off. So let's pick out what we want to use for our build-up material. Obviously EVA, or crepe, as everybody knows it. Now, the crepe that we use, you can get in all kinds of dimensions. You can get it from 1/4 inch, you can get it to 1 1/4 inch. I don't like using the full 1-inch thickness to do a build-up on the shoe, simply because even if you heat up the material to make it more pliable, it still has a tendency to disconnect at the heel or at the toe. So I like to do it in 2 layers. So I'm going to go 2 1/2-inch layers of EVA to build up the shoe. So I'm going to grab some material. I'll be right back. All right, I've got my EVA crepe. This is a 1/2-inch sheet. Most sheets measure about 18 inches wide, 32 inches to 36 inches in height. You can see I've worked off of this sheet in the past, but I try to milk as much as I can out of a sheet, and I do believe I can get 2 of these out of this one piece. So I'm just tracing it. I'm going to cut it and try to save as much as I can of this so that I can use it for the second piece. All right. And I've got to trim this up. I'll be right back. Okay, so we cut it up. I sanded the surface to clean it so that the bonding agent will stick better. And I also cleaned this, and this is level, so we're going to put these 2 together. So we're going to bond them together, and I'm going to use all-purpose cement, as I usually do. I do have a vent system so that when I use the adhesive, I don't have to breathe this stuff in. And this stuff is thick. You just want an even coat. You don't want to put too much. You want big gobs hanging on it, because it'll take forever to dry. So spread it even. Night shift, use a lot of glue because it's almost empty. And you didn't fill it. Again, nice even coat so that it will dry evenly and stick better. All right, so we got to wait a few minutes to let this dry, and then we'll come back and bond it. All right, so I heated up my material so make it a little more flexible. And we're going to put this on the sneaker. You really want to make sure that the edge gets full contact. And I always check to make sure I have no gaps. All right, good. I can trim this up. I'm going to trim it on the machine, and then we'll cut out the next layer and get that going. See you in a minute. Okay, so I've put both layers of material on there, 1/2 inch both, and remeasure just to make sure that I have everything that I need. And when I measure, it's perfect. It comes up to what I need to finish. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to roll the toe, do a soften the heel strike, make sure that she sits balanced and flat, and then we'll put the finish over. Okay, so I've grounded basic shape that I want. I got a nice toe spring. I got a nice heel, soft heel strike. It moves naturally. There's no resistance, so that's a good thing. So what I like to do now is anything over 1/2 inch, I like to drill out some of the weight in the center. So I'm going to myself about a 3/4 inch border around the shoe mod. And I'm going to drill this out. I've got a 3/4 inch I call paddle bit or spade bit. And we're just going to make a lot of noise. All right, so we've drilled out a good portion of the material in the center of the sneaker. You can see here that takes a lot of weight off. Makes a big deal. When you finish the job, people expected the shoe modification to be heavy, and it's not because you've drilled it out. So my next step is I'm going to take this. I'm going to bond the finished sole to the shoe, and we're almost done. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so now we're going to bond things up. And again, all-purpose cement. Make sure you get the edges real good. Is that vent on? Talking to the film crew, we see if the vent's on. You don't want to breathe these fumes. They're just not good for you. Read the warnings on all your adhesives and they'll tell you you got to vent the stuff out. When you vent it out, these things, the fumes, they don't rise per se, they hover. So when you put in a ventilation system for this, put it at bench level. Don't put it above the product, put it at bench level so it sucks the fumes down. And that makes a world of difference. It took me a long time to figure this out, and it took me a long time to get and install the vent system, but that makes a little difference. You just don't smell the fumes like we did back in the day. All right, we're going to let this dry for a bit, and then we'll show you how we stick it together. All right, so we got everything cemented up and dried, and we're going to attach the two pieces together. I like to start at the heel. Everybody has their own technique, whichever you're comfortable with. Again, you got to make sure all the edges are connected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and trim it on the 5-in-1, and then I don't like to I don't like to sand a freshly bonded finish sole until at least it's set, hopefully overnight. You know, I found in the past that if I try to grind this too soon, the heat reactivates the adhesive and the sole will separate. So I like to let it set overnight and then and finish her up. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to let it set overnight. Next time you see me, I'll be grinding this and we'll finish this up. See you in a bit. Okay, so we finished up trimming the finish hole on the shoe modification. Don't forget we drilled it out to make it a lot lighter. And I'm just going to check and see if we're in where we're supposed to be as far as measurements go. Finish measurement is supposed to be 3 inches on the heel. And on the sole, it's supposed to be 2 1/8. Right on. It's right on the money. One thing I did mention earlier was I like to take the laces out of any shoe that I work on. I also take the inner sole out. It just makes it a lot easier to work on. I take the lace out because I don't want it to get hung up on the machine. So there's your finished product. So like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos from Shoe Mods with Steve Petrarca.